Hello, I'm Jonasz Lewiński and this is Military Mind. Armed conflicts, defense and security, land, sea and air. We've got you covered. And as always, we begin with a brief update on the military situation in Ukraine. Overnight, the Russian army once again launched a massive drone attack over the country. Local officials in the Zaporizhia region are saying that a Shahed drone damaged a private residential building, wounding 2 people. In the neighboring Kherson region, 1 person was wounded, while in the Sumy region 94 were wounded after a Russian strike on a residential building on the night of the 24th of March. Now, on the front line, in the Belgorod region, Ukrainian military personnel have captured Demidovka and are trying to isolate the area, according to Russian war correspondents. However, pro-Russian mapping websites are marking Demidovka as a grey zone, meaning that neither side fully controls it, and marking the section from the border to Demidovka as controlled by Ukrainian troops. Now, on the eastern front in Ukraine itself, in the Kupiansk sector, east of Kharkiv, Russian forces are pushing to expand the zone of control on the right bank of the Oskil River. Meanwhile, Ukrainian military observer Konstantin Mashoviets is saying that Russian troops are simultaneously trying to advance from the bridgehead on the right bank to link it with another that emerged as a result of the landing in the Krasne Perche area. These efforts come at a considerable cost to the Russians, and many attacks have failed. So the current plan of the Russian command to capture Kupiansk is up in the air, according to Mashoviets. Moving on now to the Congo. A de facto ceasefire between Congolese forces and Rwandan-backed M23 rebels in the eastern town of Walikale collapsed on Monday, with the rebels retracting their pledge to withdraw. The rebels accused the army of failing to fulfill its commitments. The ceasefire had briefly raised hopes for renewed diplomatic efforts to resolve the ongoing conflict in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Negotiations between Congo and the rebels have repeatedly failed, and M23 had withdrawn from previous peace talks in protest of sanctions against its leaders. Now, we open today's episode with a clip showing the Ravens, the UAV unit of the 129th Territorial Defense Brigade, turning a key supply route in the Kursk region into a graveyard for Russian forces. According to open-source intelligence sources, the strike targeted a convoy consisting of 5 armored vehicles and approximately 25 transport trucks, crippling Russian logistics in the region. The footage showcases the precision and impact of Ukrainian drone warfare, effectively weakening enemy mobility and supply lines. And pixelated as the images may be, you can clearly see the finesse of the drone operator. He continues to circle the armored vehicle like an angry hornet, looking for an opening, seeing the open hatch, and then going for the kill. Highly efficient, precise, and of course rather unpleasant for the Russian crew. Now, moving on to the next one. Russian electronic warfare systems are no longer a guarantee of protection, as Azov's drone pilots have deployed fiber optic controlled FPV drones, which are resistant to jamming and capable of delivering precise strikes on enemy positions. In this clip coming up, operators from the 12th Special Purpose Brigade Azov can be seen targeting Russian shelters and light vehicles in the Torецk area. And again, it's intriguing to see how something so simple can be adopted on the front line so efficiently. Controlling a projectile or a drone using a wire is nothing new. I mean, you probably remember the TOW, the classic among anti-tank missiles, which is controlled using a cable, so it cannot be jammed. Now, Ukrainians were fighting against Russian drones that had these fiber optics for quite a while now, and now they are deploying the very same method. It's fascinating to see how warfare sometimes is really about offensive measures and then countermeasures, and then other measures which are intended to make these countermeasures obsolete. And so it goes. Now, moving on to the next feature, a Russian soldier riding on the armor of a T-72B3M tank unwittingly captured the exact moment the tank was blown up by a landmine. The footage shows the impact as the explosion engulfs the vehicle and sends debris flying. This incident highlights the growing effectiveness of Ukrainian minefields in countering Russian armored advances. The widespread use of anti-tank mines continues to inflict heavy losses on enemy mechanized units. And with this, we conclude this episode of Military Mind. Please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news and updates.